You ain't got no snow out there. You could run your still year-round.
Run it the year round here.
Yeah, but walking down through the snow to the still always makes you feel so miserable.
Behind every beloved television show lies a story that viewers never got to see. And when it comes to the Beverly Hillbillies, the real drama happened when the cameras stopped rolling. What started as political disagreements between two talented actors would spiral into one of Hollywood's most bitter feuds, ending with a betrayal that shocked everyone who knew the truth about Nancy Kulp and Buddy Ebsen. Before we dive into what really happened, make sure to hit that like button if you enjoy vintage Hollywood stories. Your support helps us bring more untold tales from television's golden age. Nancy Kulp wasn't your typical Hollywood starlet. Born in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania in 1921, she was the only child of Robert and Marjorie Kulp. Her father was a traveling salesman constantly on the move, while her mother climbed the ranks from schoolteacher to principal. The family relocated to Miami when Nancy was young, shaping a childhood filled with education and structure. By 1943, Nancy had earned her journalism degree from Florida State College for Women. She seemed destined for a life behind the typewriter, not in front of cameras. Working for the Miami Beach Tropics newspaper, she interviewed Hollywood royalty like Clark Gable and even the Duke and Duchess of Windsor. These weren't small-time assignments. These were the stories that mattered. Then World War II changed everything. Nancy didn't hesitate when duty called. She left her master's studies at the University of Miami to join the United States Naval Reserve, specifically the Waves program. Picture this young, determined woman earning the rank of lieutenant junior grade, receiving several decorations, including the American Campaign Medal. This wasn't just patriotic duty, it was character building that would define her entire life. Meanwhile, Buddy Ebsen's path couldn't have been more different. Born Christian Ludolph Ebsen Jr. in 1908 in Belleville, Illinois, he grew up in a family that breathed performance. His father owned a dance studio and advocated for physical fitness, while his mother was a Baltic German painter. When the family moved to Florida, young Buddy had dancing in his blood. The vaudeville circuit called, and Buddy answered. He and his sister Vilma became the baby of stairs, captivating audiences with their synchronized routines. But success wasn't instant. When Buddy arrived in New York with barely enough money for a sandwich, he knew survival meant hustle. And hustle, he did. Broadway noticed. Hollywood beckoned. Soon, he was dancing with Shirley Temple and helping Walt Disney himself animate Mickey Mouse's movements. But Hollywood has a way of testing even the strongest. Buddy's casting as the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz should have been his golden ticket. Instead, it nearly ended everything. The aluminum dust in the makeup poisoned him, sending him to the hospital fighting for his life. The role went to someone else, and Buddy had to rebuild from scratch. During World War II, while Nancy served in the Naval Reserve, Buddy taught sailing to naval officers, using his skills in a different kind of service. Fast forward to the 1950s. Nancy had married Charles Malcolm Dacus in 1951 and landed a job in MGM's publicity department. That's when director George Cukor spotted something special in her. "You should be in front of the camera," he told her. And just like that, Nancy's acting career began. She wasn't leading lady material, and she knew it. But Nancy had something better, the ability to steal scenes with sharp wit and impeccable timing. From playing a maid on I Love Lucy to a drunken waitress on Maverick, she made every small role memorable. Her face might not have graced magazine covers, but casting directors knew her value. Buddy was carving his own television niche, playing folksy characters that audiences trusted. He bounced between westerns and dramas, even taking villain roles on Gunsmoke and Maverick. Both actors were working steadily, crossing paths in Hollywood's small world, but neither had found their breakout role yet. Then came 1962, and everything changed. When producers were casting the Beverly Hillbillies, they needed someone special for Jane Hathaway, the bird-watching secretary with a heart of gold. Nancy was perfect. And Buddy, with his natural charm and fatherly presence, became Jed Clampett, the wise patriarch of the fish-out-of-water family. The show exploded onto screens like nothing before it. Millions tuned in weekly to watch the Clampetts navigate Beverly Hills society. The premise was simple, but genius. A poor family strikes oil, moves to a mansion, and hilarity ensues. But beneath the laughs, tension was building. Nancy's Miss Jane became iconic. Smart, loyal, hopelessly in love with the dim-witted Jethro, she was the voice of reason in a world of chaos. Her bird-watching hobby and prim appearance masked a woman who genuinely cared about the Clampetts. Nancy earned an Emmy nomination for the role, proof that she'd created something special. Buddy's Jed was equally beloved. Calm, wise, and endlessly patient with his eccentric family, he anchored the show. His catchphrase, "Well, doggies," entered American vocabulary. Together, they should have been television gold, but that's not what happened behind the scenes. The problem wasn't acting or professionalism. It was fundamental beliefs. Buddy was a staunch conservative Republican. Nancy leaned liberal Democrat. In the politically charged 1960s, these weren't just differences of opinion, they were battle lines. Donna Douglas, who played Ellie Mae, later revealed the truth. They had different views, so they had some heated discussions about that. They would go at it for weeks. Imagine working every day with someone whose worldview opposes everything you believe. That was Nancy and Buddy's reality. The arguments weren't quiet disagreements over coffee. These were heated debates that could last for weeks. Other cast members would try to stay neutral, but the tension was impossible to ignore. Yet when the cameras rolled, they transformed. Miss Jane and Jed had warm, friendly scenes together. The audience never suspected the friction bubbling underneath. For 9 years, they maintained this professional facade. The show dominated ratings, sometimes pulling 60 million viewers. It spawned sister shows like Green Acres and Petticoat Junction. The Beverly Hillbillies wasn't just successful, it was a cultural phenomenon. But success couldn't heal the divide between Nancy and Buddy. Nancy later admitted she found Buddy difficult to work with. It wasn't just politics, it was personality. She was intellectual, sharp, never backing down from her beliefs. He was charming but stubborn, equally committed to his conservative views. When these forces collided, the set became a battlefield of ideologies. The show ended in 1971, a victim of CBS's rural purge despite still earning strong ratings. Nancy and Buddy went their separate ways, probably relieved to escape the daily tension. Nancy returned to theater, appearing on Broadway in mornings at 7. She made guest appearances on shows like The Love Boat and Quantum Leap. Life moved forward. Buddy found renewed success with Barnaby Jones, playing a milk-drinking detective for another long-running series. He seemed to have moved past the Beverly Hillbillies entirely, but the feud wasn't over. It was about to explode in the most public, painful way possible. In 1984, Nancy made a bold decision. At 62 years old, she would run for the United States House of Representatives from Pennsylvania's 9th Congressional District. It was a long shot. The district was solidly Republican, and her opponent, Bud Schuster, had already served 6 terms. But Nancy believed in public service. After all, Ronald Reagan had transitioned from acting to politics. Why not her? She campaigned hard, connecting with voters, sharing her vision for change. She acknowledged that some might see her acting background as frivolous, but she argued that anyone who listens and cares can serve effectively. The campaign was uphill, but Nancy was determined. Then came the betrayal that would define their relationship forever. Buddy Ebsen, who had no connection to Pennsylvania, no stake in the race, volunteered to record a radio ad for Nancy's opponent. In the ad, he called her too liberal and accused her of using her celebrity status to gain an unfair advantage. Nancy was devastated. This wasn't just political disagreement, this was personal attack from someone she'd worked with for 9 years. Someone who knew her character, her work ethic, her dedication. Buddy had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. "He's not the kindly old Jed Clampett you saw on the show," Nancy said in interviews afterward. "It's none of his business and he should have stayed out of it." The pain in her words was obvious. She added, "I found him difficult to work with, but I never would have done something like this to him." The ad's impact was debatable, but the election result wasn't. Nancy lost decisively, garnering only 33.6% of the vote to Schuster's 66.4%. Whether Buddy's intervention made the difference or not, Nancy felt the sting of his betrayal deeply. After the loss, Nancy left Pennsylvania temporarily, visiting friends in California to clear her head. The defeat wounded her more than she initially admitted. She'd put herself out there, tried to make a difference, only to have a former colleague actively work against her. It was a blow that went beyond politics. When Nancy returned to Pennsylvania, she channeled her energy into teaching. She became an artist in residence at Juniata College, a small liberal arts school. There, she inspired countless students with her knowledge and passion for acting. Students remember her not just as a celebrity, but as a dedicated teacher who genuinely cared about their growth. She brought humor and warmth to her lessons, making every student feel that the stage could be their home. She'd share stories from the Beverly Hillbillies, but always with lessons attached. This wasn't about reliving glory days, it was about passing on wisdom to the next generation. Nancy also performed in local theater productions, never fully stepping away from her first love. She lived a full life outside Hollywood's spotlight, connecting with her community in meaningful ways. Friends describe her as brave, strong, and endlessly giving. Meanwhile, Buddy continued his career, but something had changed. In his later years, especially after Nancy's diagnosis with cancer in 1990, he began expressing remorse for the radio ad. The anger had faded, replaced by regret for letting political differences destroy a professional relationship. They reconciled briefly before Nancy's death, though reconciled might be too strong a word. They spoke, cleared some air, but the wound was too deep for true healing. Years of animosity couldn't be erased with a few conversations. Nancy's battle with cancer was brief but intense. Despite chemotherapy, the disease spread rapidly. She passed away on February 3, 1991, at a friend's home in Palm Desert, California. She was 69 years old. Her remains were interred at Westminster Presbyterian Cemetery in Mifflintown, Pennsylvania, returning her to her roots. Buddy lived another 12 years, passing in 2003 at age 95. He'd had a remarkable career, from vaudeville to television icon, but the shadow of his feud with Nancy followed him. In interviews near the end of his life, he expressed genuine regret about how things had ended between them. The tragedy of Nancy Kulp and Buddy Ebsen isn't just about political differences. It's about how ideological divides can destroy relationships, even professional ones built on mutual respect. They created television magic together, bringing joy to millions, while harboring resentment that ultimately exploded in public betrayal. Their story serves as a reminder that behind every beloved show, real people with real conflicts work together. The Beverly Hillbillies brought laughter to America during turbulent times, but its two stars couldn't bridge their own divide. Nancy and Buddy proved you can work with someone for years, create something beautiful together, and still never truly understand each other. What makes this even more poignant is that both were talented, dedicated professionals who loved their craft. They weren't difficult divas or egomaniacs. They were two people whose beliefs were so fundamental to their identities that compromise became impossible. In today's polarized world, their story feels particularly relevant. The Beverly Hillbillies remains a classic, its reruns still drawing viewers who love the Clampett's innocent humor. When you watch Miss Jane Moon over Jethro or Jed Dispense Homespun Wisdom, remember the complexity behind those performances. Two actors, worlds apart in belief, created characters that seemed like old friends. Perhaps that's the greatest tragedy. Nancy and Buddy could create warmth and friendship on screen while feeling none of it off screen. They were actors doing their job, but the cost was higher than anyone watching could have imagined. Their feud reminds us that Hollywood's golden age wasn't always golden behind the scenes. It was filled with real people, real conflicts, and real pain. Nancy Kulp and Buddy Ebsen gave us laughter while dealing with their own bitter reality. That's the untold story of the Beverly Hillbillies, a tale of talent, politics, and a betrayal that time couldn't heal. If you found this story fascinating, please subscribe for more untold tales from vintage Hollywood. Every legend has secrets, and we're here to reveal them. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.